Alright, well, let's talk about what we're doing here today. This is me, Noah Church, joined by my good friend Matt Fradd, Catholic superhero extraordinaire. I believe they have a statue of you in the Vatican
That is,
now, right?
Look, I appreciate you bringing it up. Not many people do.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm pretty proud of it.
I know you're too humble to bring it up yourself, so
Yeah.
I thought I'd throw you a bone there.
Thank you very much.
But in all seriousness, Matt Fradd speaks to around, 50,000 people a year about the dangers of pornography.
Yep.
He's a Catholic apologist, and he's written how many books now?
Well, I have several books, but my big one's coming out soon. It's going to be called The Porn Myth, which is a non-religious response to pro-porn arguments. It's coming out in March, or March.
March.
So
March.
March. Hey, it was pretty good how you said that there.
March.
You and Gary Wilson have inspired me. Gary Wilson, yourbrainonporn.com, for those who don't know, decided to donate his royalties to charity, and then you have your book, which you kind of give away for free.
PDF indeed free at my website, addictedtointernetporn.com.
So I'm doing something similar. I'm going to give the royalties of my book to this group in San Diego that helps traffic women. Wow. And I think it's really cool that two atheists, agnostics, depending on your digestion that day, I don't know what you say, that you inspired a Christian to act like a Christian. So thank you.
Matt, in case you don't know, he always makes fun of me for, being doomed to eternal damnation.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Matt, I invited you here tonight for a reason.
To abuse me. Alright, what is it?
Would you like to play a game?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, I haven't fully explained the rules to Matt before this, so I'm about to.
Alright.
And before we start, I think we need to have some stakes in this game.
Alright.
So I think that the winner gets to make the loser say something. And what I want you to say, I want you to admit that Pastafarianism is just as legitimate of a religion as Catholicism.
What do you mean by legitimate? Let's define our terms, because I am familiar with that Pastafarianism. So we need to define our terms. This is going to end up being religious...
It's not for the loser to ask questions.
Okay, great. Well, I will admit just as you say, but then I will have mental reservation as to what I believe legitimate means.
Okay. And if you win, what would you like me to admit or say?
That I am even better looking than Gabe Deem.
Oh, wow.
I know that's a lie, but that's okay.
Yeah, good thing it doesn't have to be true. We just have to say
That's right, exactly.
The game we have in mind for today is a game of shock and surprise. We're going to each present in rounds the most shocking and poignant and surprising facts about pornography and pornography use that we've learned in our time as public speakers and activists in this realm, and an effort to educate all of you guys out there.
Now here's the thing. I'm probably not going to shock you, so I guess my goal is to shock the average. Yeah.
So how it's going to work is after the video is done, I'll put a couple of comments down below the video, and if you think that Noah won, you upvote the Noah comment. If you think that Matt won, you upvote the Matt comment.
Sound good, so you're breaking up right now. I can't. It's going in and out.
Oh no.
Oh, that might be better. No! I can't hear anything you're saying. Gosh. Does this happen to other guests? Now it's working again. What happens? Now it's not. Now it is.
Now it is.
Quick, 17 seconds!
Okay. So decide who gets to go first in each round. We're going to play a mini game. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Have you heard of the game Rochambeau? Do they have that in Australia?
I'm sure they do. I don't know what it is.
Rock, paper, scissors might be another name you know. I've never used this website before, so hopefully it works.
Cool. All right, have you chosen
Okay.
yet?
No, I have not chosen yet. Oh. My username, by the way, is always go rock. Just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I always
Good.
pick rock. Alright, I picked mine. It's gonna be... This game always gets inside my head. I think we've chosen the slowest website to play rock, paper, scissors on.
Given
the
that we're
internet.
given that we're looking at each other, we could probably also just do it.
No! You believed me!
Yes!
Okay, you get to go first in the first round.
Alright, so, number one, what I find fascinating and what I think a lot of your viewers will find fascinating is this idea of mirror neurons, which is this thing neuroscientists have been talking about for the last 10 years, which enables us to have empathy with others, and some scientists speculate that it might be due to a deficiency in mirror neurons that causes things like autism. Beautiful autistic children. I've had some neighbors who had an autistic kid. He was so awesome, but totally could not pick up on facial cues. Anyway, this understanding of mirror neurons, which basically enables us to experience what it is we're looking at, has shed new light on the experience someone has when they view pornography. So here's something I found interesting. The journal Neuroimage published a study in 2008 demonstrating that as men are sexually aroused by pornography, the mirror neurons in the brain also fire. This means that the brain naturally imagines the porn viewer in the scene. The man is not merely responding to the naked woman. His brain is mirroring the pornographic scene with the viewer as the main character, which heightens the arousal.
Okay. So, when we watch porn, we are identifying with what's going on and we're learning from what we're seeing.
Well, yeah, it sounds like what they're saying is that, we might like to tell ourselves this is only fantasy, but our brain says differently,
Here's mine. I'm going to start with some basics here. So, 1,565 high school students were surveyed. And among those, and these are boys and girls, 78% of them consume pornography regularly. And 22% of all these students described that their porn use was habitual. And here's the shocking part for me, another 9% described it as a kind of addiction, that they felt addicted to pornography. And that's 1 in 10 high school students who feels like they're addicted to pornography. And that's not even counting the people who probably do have a problem with it but don't realize it. Like if you had asked me in senior year of high school if I was addicted to porn, I would have said hell no. But looking back, I definitely was.
Yeah.
So I think it's sobering to see just how pervasive pornography use has become. Okay,
Yeah.
round 2, we're gonna play rock, paper, scissors again.
Oh, okay. Do you want to do it like this or on the thing? Because I'm
the
not going to
thing.
lie, I've already closed it, so I'm going to go
Okay.
back and I'm
Okay,
gonna...
fine. Let's see if our latency is good enough. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, shoot, okay?
Alright, yeah.
1.
1, 2, 3. I'm just shutting my eyes so I don't see.
We
Scissors.
scissored each other.
No, don't say that. Okay, try again. This looks bad anyway. Let's keep going with it. So you win. So you go.
Yes, okay.
I think, yeah.
Alright, you've probably heard of Netflix, right?
Yes.
Alright, Netflix. It's shocking. How many subscribers do you think Netflix has worldwide?
Golly, I would have no idea. I'd say it several million, but I don't know.
You're a little low. It's 86 million.
Okay, just a slight. Yeah, right.
So 86 million people who subscribe to Netflix, and that's one of the bigger streaming sites, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's heard of Netflix, right? You walk down the street, you ask someone who watches Netflix, they're at least going to know what Netflix is, right?
Yeah.
Now, have you ever heard of MindGeek? Probably, since you're in this industry.
Yeah.
If you walk down the street and ask people if they'd ever heard of MindGeek,
They've got
do you think?
no idea who that is. Yeah.
Yeah, but Netflix has 86 million subscribers. MindGeek has over 100 million unique daily visitors to their website every day. And what MindGeek is this international corporation that is basically monopolized the porn industry. They own 8 out of the top 10 YouTube-style streaming pornography sites, and they own a lot of the production companies as well. So they own both the production and the distribution of most of the porn industry. So it's really interesting that the porn industry has become what it's become, because even the porn producers now, the people who own them, and are paying for them to produce this content are also pirating that content onto these streaming websites and taking all the money for themselves, basically.
Yeah, I remember when I found out that all these different beers, for example, were all, owned by this one company, or all these different whiskeys, and it's kind of something similar here. You might see like a million different pornographic websites and have no idea that they can all be traced back to one origin.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, boom, mind blown.
Boom, awesome. All right,
Take that, Matt Fradd!
I'm not gonna beat it. I'm not. I'm gonna do another brain one, and then I'll do something a little different. And it's got to do with, I know we've all talked about it a lot, and that's dopamine. And I just want to use an analogy that I heard, because I think it'll really help people. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter, among other things, which incentivizes us to perform actions that are conducive to our survival and that of the species, blah, blah, blah. When we use pornography compulsively, we're learning that this begins to atrophy. The reward cells are in a state of dopamine craving. It's as if we've reset the pleasure thermostat in our brain. So that's kind of scary, but here's an analogy I heard, and this is what I want to share with you, because it really painted a picture for me. I think a lot of people can relate to it. Suppose you're, and forgive me if you heard it, but suppose you're on the phone with someone, maybe your boss, right, and you really need the job, but the boss is angry about something, he starts shouting at you, and so you might remove the earpiece from your ear. And if your boss stops shouting, you won't be able to hear him unless you bring it back up again. Mm-hmm. And what we're learning, and what these studies are finding out, is that as we view pornography compulsively, it's like our brain is being shouted at by dopamine. And so now when we shut the laptop, turn off the phone, and go back into regular life and try and participate in activities that we once found meaningful and pleasurable, we can't hear the pleasure, we can't hear the joy. And life sort of becomes numb and dim. And you think about it for a guy who might like hang out with his mates, or playing an instrument, or writing, or exercising. All of that stuff he can't hear the pleasure anymore. You think about a dad, maybe he used to like playing Legos with his kid, or jumping with his daughter on the trampoline, and all of a sudden he's just not interested. And this is why. And so that's scary. As we all know, the good news is this whole dopamine system can restore itself with time. Thank God. But I think that's something that shocks a lot of people, and doesn't only shock them, but I think it helps them figure out their own experience. They're like, yes, that has been my experience.
Yeah, I haven't heard it put quite that way before.
Yeah,
but totally. I mean, years ago, and so many people think of using porn as something that's not going to affect the rest of their lives, right? It's just a half an hour out of the day or whatever, and it's not going to have other impacts on our life. But man, looking back, I was very desensitized. I mean, that earpiece was way out here for me, and it was just hard to concentrate and be really passionate and interested about much of anything. And especially that became apparent after I quit, and just felt everything much more fully after I quit porn, and I was more in touch with my emotions and just day-to-day activities, and it was really cool.
Cool.
That's a good
now,
fact.
A lot of people say that initially it's a lot harder. You maybe hear people say what you just said, it'll be a lot better. How long was that slump for you before things started getting better?
For me, I felt better right away because I finally had an answer to what had been wrong with my sexuality for so long. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of riding that high for that first few weeks especially. And that got me through, I think, that first slump that a lot of people hit, because I was just feeling so good off of that. But yeah, I started to really notice the increased capacity for like focus and love and feeling probably after like a month and a half or 2 months away from porn, which had been the longest I'd been away from porn since I started.
Now, I know you coach different people to overcome porn. Uh-huh. Has that been a regular thing you hear from folks, that they experience what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And not everyone happens in the first couple of months. Some people quit porn and they just go into this depressive flat line where they feel really flat and not really passionate, and they feel like their sexuality is just gone, and they don't get any like erections or anything like that. And that can last for several months for some people. But without a doubt, once that ends, they always feel better than they did before it began.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, your turn, or is it rock, paper, scissors? Because I got a good one. I'm excited about this one. All right. I'm going to close my eyes so I don't see what you do.
Okay,
rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right, you win.
All right. Oh. All right, here's a sensational one. Pornhub, back at the end of 2015, released some statistics, and I want to share them with you. Because sometimes we hear statistics about pornography and we think to ourselves, I don't know, I mean, where are they getting this from, you know? But this is legitimate. You got one site explaining how people interacted with porn, and here's what they said. In this 1 year, 2015, people watched 4,392,486,580 hours of porn on Pornhub. So to put that into perspective, that means in 1 year, people around the world spent 501,425 years watching pornography. And on one site, remember. Also, on this one site, people watched 87,849,731,608 porn videos. And as the porn site hastened to add, that's 12 porn videos viewed for every single person on the planet.
And that's just one website.
One porn site.
Wow.
And that was a good one.
You said 500,000 years of porn watched? Was that?
Let's see here. I want to make sure I get that right. Yeah, in 1 year, people around the world spent over 500,000 years, 501,425 years watching porn. My goodness!
And according to you, the world's only been around for like 4,000 years.
No,
that's a long time, huh?
I'm a Catholic, not a Protestant. Get it right.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can beat that one. That's a hard one to beat.
Yeah.
Alright, so back in 2002, there was a meta-study of erectile functioning studies that were specifically targeting men 18 to 40 years old, so young men. And it found that among those guys, about 2% of them struggled with erectile dysfunction with a partner. And yeah, that's pretty normal, right? You wouldn't expect many young guys to have difficulty getting it up in the bedroom. But 10 years later, by 2012, studies were showing that those numbers had jumped to 27 to 33% of young guys having difficulty with erectile functioning with a partner. And that is a huge jump. And let's think, what changed in those 10 years? Did people start smoking a lot more? Did people get a lot fatter? No, not really. And not 1,000% fatter, that's for sure. But in 2006, those YouTube-style streaming porn sites started to go live. And by 2007, 2008, they were everywhere. And it was extremely easy to just click to a website and instantly watch any type of porn you could imagine for free. And it unleashed a tidal wave of porn upon the earth.
Wow.
And a study of I'm going to cheat here, sneak in another fact. A study of 16 to 21-year-olds, and this is younger than 18 to 40, this is 16 to 21, found that 27% of them struggled with ED, and 54% of them struggled with some sexual problem, including low libido for real partners.
Wow. Cool. All right, shall I do mine?
No.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we have to do this again. Yeah. Rock, paper, scissors,
shoot.
Rock and rock. All right.
Rock, okay.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Ah! You're in my head!
Yeah, baby. All right, I'm going to look this one up because I think this is a different kind of one that we're not... You know what I'm looking through right now?
What?
My manuscript for my book. I got a crap load of research in here, and I thought
cheating off yourself. How dare you?
So, something I found really interesting is the difference. This has more to do with just masturbation and not pornography. Now, I get that, maybe some people are okay with just masturbating without pornography. But I find there's a lot of myths out there. Like, if you don't masturbate, that's really harmful for you and you're going to get something wrong with you and bad skin and you'll die.
Yeah.
But just as the lies about you'll go blind if you do, we shouldn't pay attention to them. Well, we shouldn't necessarily pay attention to these other ones, especially if the science doesn't back it up. And I want to say a couple of things. Well, first of all, I don't think it does back it up. I think there's been different studies, and I have them in front of me here, that have showed that masturbation can often be associated with things like the following. Okay, so this comes from a study, Relative Health Benefits by Stuart Brody, the relative health benefits of different sexual activities, and he found that masturbation is associated with more prostate abnormalities, less ability to recover from erectile dysfunction, if you have that, less satisfaction with one's mental health, less relationship satisfaction, and depression, and less happiness. But I just want to kind of respond to the person who would say, well, masturbation's good for you. Because when someone says that, they probably don't mean the physical act of masturbation. Because you could achieve that by grating cheese, or, you know what I'm saying? Or vigorously, so your heart rate would increase. Like, what they mean is ejaculation. Sorry, yeah, we can take a moment out for that. I don't know with it.
Masturbation is just like grating cheese.
Yes, exactly. No, what they mean is ejaculation.
Yeah.
But like, obviously ejaculation would have positive side effects. Like, no one would argue that. You know, I mean, it's necessary for the survival of the species. If it didn't have positive side effects, that would be weird. But two things. Just because something has positive side effects doesn't mean that I can achieve that end by any means necessary. Mm-hmm. Like, no one would take as an excuse, you know, when I make love to my mistress, it makes me more in tune with my whatever, and I feel more sexy, and I can please my wife more, or maybe she's sick and she can't make love, and I need to get my needs met. We'd be like, nah, that's not cool. And I'm not equating the two to say masturbation is the same as having a mistress, but just to point out that the ends don't necessarily.
But it is the same as grating cheese.
It's exactly. It's not like prostitution. It is like grating cheese with a prostitute. I don't know. Yeah. So there's a couple of thoughts. I think we can fall into the trap of wanting to believe the facts that say masturbation's good for you. We're like, yeah, it's great. But I think there have been some serious studies that people should look at to show that when researchers compared like vaginal intercourse with masturbation, yeah, vaginal intercourse does have these positive side effects, but masturbation doesn't necessarily have them.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've actually been planning a video talking about exactly that.
Really?
I plan to release it later next week. But yeah, I was reading those Stuart Brody studies as well.
Awesome.
And yeah, there's so many people who think that you have to masturbate to reduce your risk of prostate cancer. And we have, I mean, our studies that we have show really conflicting information about that. The ones that separate out masturbation from just ejaculations in general show that masturbation, especially in the 20s, it's actually correlated with more prostate abnormalities and higher risk of prostate cancer, like you said. We're having sex and masturbating, they don't have the same effect on the body or the brain. We've seen that even the makeup of ejaculate is different when masturbating versus when having, you know, vaginal sex.
I was going to say that. I've written it in my book. It's in the footnotes. But even as I read it, I'm like, that can't be true. But I'm glad that you're here to validate that. And we don't really know why, right? That the makeup of ejaculate is different. My understanding is
we don't entirely know why. We do know that, you know, dopamine is released when masturbating or fantasizing, looking at porn, and also when having sex. But oxytocin, you know, the neurochemical responsible for the feeling of satisfaction and bonding, is present with ejaculation with penile and vaginal sex, but not so much with masturbation. So we get all the craving without the satisfaction.
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay, gotta get a good one here. Okay, in 2016, a recent study. It was a study that looked at the top 50 selling porn scenes or porn DVDs, I believe, and looked through each of the scenes to see, you know, what exactly is porn these days, what is it made up of, what kind of sex acts are being portrayed in porn. Because it's probably been a long time since you looked at a porn site. It's been a long time for me as well. But I remember it's not just, you know, a lot of vanilla sex and regular normal stuff. It's a lot of abusive stuff and rough stuff, especially perpetrated by men towards women. And this study found that 88% of porn scenes in those top-selling porn videos contain acts of physical aggression or abuse, overwhelmingly done by men toward women. This includes like slapping and choking and hitting. And in, I believe, 40-something% of those scenes also contained acts of verbal aggression, like name calling and degradation, stuff like that. And I'm not saying that, I mean, if two people want to explore their kinks with each other, I'm not saying that's wrong, but to normalize aggression and violence in sex, and to show that, especially to young people, because young people are consuming this stuff, is to normalize that in sex and say that, normal sex includes these types of activities. And I think that's really unhealthy for a developing sexuality, an adolescent boy or girl who wants to learn about sex and is watching porn.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with the study you're referring to. When I read some of the abusive language, because it was actually 307, if I'm not mistaken, sex scenes in total that they viewed. So I'm not sure who signed up for this study, right? That's the other thing but yeah, some of the language, it was just so disgusting. I mean, it was normal things like you'd expect, like bitch and slut. But there were other things that were just so awful that I am so, it's like the language of Mordor. That's not. I'm a real geek apparently. Mordor. But it's like I don't want to tell anyone what that stuff was. It was just so gross.
Yeah. And I have a theory about why this is, about why we don't just go on a porn site and see a bunch of vanilla porn between loving couples. I think it's because the audience is desensitized, like we were talking about earlier. They've developed a tolerance, and just like an alcoholic who, can't feel anything from 1 or 2 beers anymore and needs something more extreme, more quantity, more alcohol content. The porn user needs something more extreme visually, more shocking or surprising or disturbing even, to get to that same level of arousal. So I think that as the audience is consuming more porn and getting desensitized, they're seeking out more extreme stuff, and the suppliers are simply supplying what the audience is demanding.
That's right. You think about, imagine a thought experiment. There's a pub, and there's 50 people in this pub, and every day they drink beer. Well, after you come back in 2 weeks or 3 months or 5 months, they're going to be drinking either a lot more beer or different types of alcohol to get a quicker buzz. And when all of us, or many people, have access to this different kind of drug, which is pornography, the idea that we'll all be satisfied with Playboy centerfolds isn't true, and just what you're saying, that these stats bear that out. This isn't what you're going to find. I think I've heard Gail Dine say you'd be hard-pressed to find that sort of stuff if you wanted to find it. That's not what you stumble upon.
I think we have one more, right?
Okay.
Round 5?
I think so, yeah. All right, here we go.
Sticks high. Paper,
scissors, shoot. Now you win again. All right.
Yes. Okay. Finishing strong. Alright. And I've got a bunch more facts here, but I gotta pick one.
Yeah.
Alright, this one's gonna be short and sweet, and not just about pornography. This is a fact from 2010, so it might have changed since then. But in 2010, they found that adolescents, people under 18, spend an average of 7 hours and 38 minutes every day looking at a screen for entertainment of some sort. Watching TV, on their smartphone, playing video games, watching porn. And that's 7 hours and 38 minutes, that's half of the working day. And those are adolescents, people under 18, who are conditioning their lives to feed off of a screen and get what they need out of a screen. I think that's a little scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the reasons we turn to pornography, which we may not think of, is we want to soothe ourselves. So we experience this inner friction, this anxiety, and we need to soothe it. And it used to be, like before the internet, you might do something like you'd call a friend up because you just want to chat with someone, and if they weren't home, you'd dial a different number. It's almost like you wanted to connect with someone to sort of regulate what was going on within you. And of course, you could turn to other behaviors as well. But now, I go to Instagram to see if anyone liked my posts. I go to Twitter to see if anyone retweeted. I go to email to see if someone sent me something. I go to Facebook, and then I do it over again. And I'm talking about me here, I find myself bouncing around from one app to the other, to the other, to the other. I think, what am I doing? And what I'm doing, I think, is looking for validation of my personhood. I want to be known. I want to connect with another human being. Because if Twitter was retweeting these things, let's say we found out it was automated retweets, we wouldn't care about that. It would be like, whatever, it'd be cheap. We want to know that someone hears us and validates what we have to say and wants to share it. And so one thing I've been doing, I have an app called Freedom, which is a way to block your social media. So I do this now. I'll set it for, it's Friday night here, so I'll be doing that for the next all day tomorrow. I won't go on social media, and the next day too. So even if I try to open up Twitter, it doesn't work. Even if I try and search it through Google, it doesn't work. Now, it's sad, but I feel like I need that because often willpower isn't enough.
Have you read Nancy Jo Sales' book, American Girls, Social Media, and the Secret Lives of Teenagers?
No, I was with you at I think we were sitting next to each other at the talk that she gave, and it was fascinating. I haven't read the book.
Yeah, I bought her book a little while ago. I read it a few weeks ago, and it's really good. I recommend it for people out there who are curious about, what is the life of the teenager like now, given that we have a constant connection to, all these social media sites.
Well, I'm old, and so it still shocks me. I speak to a lot of teenagers, and the fact is, like, how people begin dating. It's like sexting is just part of that thing. Like, you show each other your naked bodies and different stuff, and this is just part of the progression. And this is what, like, I don't want to say everyone. I'm being hyperbolic, but this is what all teens are doing today. All right, my shot.
Yep.
Last
one.
Let's talk. Hard. Yeah, I just want to say something about porn and adolescence, and also in regards to sort of aggression too. And this is from Maggie Hamilton's Groomed to Consume Porn, How Sexualized Marketing Targets Children. Here's what she wrote. Porn shuts down a boy's natural feeling as it places little value on intimacy, empathy, and respect of partners in pornographic material. A growing body of research also shows that viewing porn is likely to make boys more sexually aggressive, to do whatever they feel they can get away with, and to want to act out what they have seen. I mean, are people really arguing against this? Are we really that desperate? We're trying to find other reasons why there's so much sexual abuse being reported, and thank God for the times that it is reported, but we both know that many of the times it isn't. Are people really trying to say that this isn't having an influence on people's behavior,
Yeah.
It's absurd.
And apart from criminal sexual assault, I think it has a real effect on people's relationships too, and what they're looking for. I think with porn, we have this illusion that we have just an unlimited array of options, and that makes us unwilling to invest in any one person, because there's always something better on the next tab, on the next video, on the next date. So
we're trading people like Netflix videos. I mean, this is why I can't commit to a Netflix video, because I'm like, there's something else on. Yeah. We're treating each other like consumable products, entertainment. Yeah. And whenever we're treated like that, we're always left feeling deeply disappointed and unhappy, which I think says so much about who we are and what sex is supposed to be about. And we might try to justify our own actions when we might use this person or do a few things here or there. But when we feel like someone has taken advantage of us without any consideration as to who we are and what's good for us, there's just this terrible empty feeling. And I think that's something like a prophet, that's saying to us, like, this is not how you should be acting. This is not what leads to good things.
That's deep, Matt. You're delving deep.
I
think it feels that way on either side, at least for me. If I'm with someone and then I later find out that, she was just using me for a good time and didn't really have any emotional investment in me, that's not going to feel very good for me. But if I do the same thing to somebody else, I'm not going to feel good about that either.
That's right. I think you'd have to completely shut down, just like this is saying. You'd have to shut down your natural feelings. Because I'm sure there are people out there that are using people and don't feel anything. But the problem is they don't feel anything of anything. Like, they're kind of dead on the inside, just sort of walking around being stimulated by different things and bouncing from one one thing to the other, and I've certainly been like that, and it's not a great place to be in, you know?
Well, Matt Fradd, I think that's the end of round 5. I think we both had
Awesome.
some heavy hitters this time. We're going to let the people in the comments decide. And so, yeah, upvote the comment for Noah if you think I won. Upvote the comment for Matt if you think he won. And in a week, I'm going to say in a week after this video is released, either you on Twitter will tweet that Pastafarianism is just as legitimate as Catholicism.
Alright, and then I'm going to put a link where I can explain what I mean by that, so I don't lead the faithful into apostasy, but okay.
Or I will tweet that Matt Fradd is even better looking than Gabe Dean.
I don't know what people are going to think about that, but alright, sounds good. Deal.
Alright, deal. And check out Matt's new book in March. It's being released in March. And it's called, what again? The Porn Effect?
The Porn Myth.
The Porn Myth, okay. And your website is?
theporneffect.com.
Porneffect.com. Alright, check out Matt Fradd. I'm at addictedtointernetporn.com, you know that. And I'll see y'all next time. Have a wonderful PMO-free day.